in America.
Only in America.
Only in America.
Only in America.
Only America.
Only in America.
This week, a Utah mayor on leading a changing community.
What I now see, and it's tangible in this community, is this next generation that still have that direct connection to their native homes, but also are Utahns. And it really is exciting to see their political growth, their interest in their community.
From the National Immigration Forum, I'm Ali Nourani, and this is Only in America. When we think about the impacts of immigration policy, our attention is often drawn to what's playing out at the national level. After all, federal immigration policies dictate who can enter the U.S. in the first place, and, well, who's allowed to stay. But for many who are already here, federal policies are only the beginning of a conversation that can play out much more meaningfully at the local level. What kind of resources can community members access? Is community information published in a language that they understand? In Utah, where the immigrant population has grown significantly in recent years, these kinds of conversations are only growing in importance. As today's guest highlights, Utah's changing demographics have presented new challenges and, well, new opportunities. When community members and elected officials understand how the state benefits from its immigrant residents, they see it as their responsibility to welcome and support newcomers. But while public support is a huge step, how do we translate it into tangible resources and services for vulnerable or marginalized communities? How can local governments build community trust in a way that's genuine? These questions about local government may not feel as monumental as national conversations, like a permanent solution for Dreamers, for example. But at the city and county level, they have immediate, meaningful impacts in immigrants' day-to-day lives. As we'll hear today, Salt Lake County is helping build support networks that allow new Utahns to thrive. And for our guest, these welcoming initiatives are a no-brainer. As the mayor of Utah's Salt Lake County, Jenny Wilson is often at the forefront of embracing the opportunities and tackling the challenges that Utah's immigrant communities face. A lifelong Salt Lake resident, Mary Wilson saw the area grow from a mostly white, relatively small city into a thriving, diverse array of communities. As mayor, she has seen firsthand how important it is to foster inclusivity and welcome, and critically, how to put those values into action. Mary Wilson and I discussed the next generation of Utahns and what she considers the Salt Lake region's hidden treasures. Mayor, first of all, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate this opportunity to chat with you. And I got to say right off the top, Salt Lake is hands down one of my favorite places. And trust me, I do not tell everybody that.
Well, we don't either nowadays. We've had a lot of people moving in recently. We're excited about that. But we love our trails. We love our mountains. Utah's been discovered, and my county has as well. So happy to welcome people. But, we also love our resources and mountains and great community.
Well, it's a great place. I mean, having grown up in Utah, tell me a little bit about how the state, particularly the county itself, has changed over time.
Well, I was pretty lucky as a kid, even though at times I didn't think so. I grew up the daughter of the Salt Lake City mayor. So I was born in 1965, and about 10 years later, in the mid-'70s, my father was elected mayor of Salt Lake City. So I went with Dad to community events and would have to drag him out of the movie theater because everyone would be complaining about their potholes. And Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County were much simpler then. We didn't have the diversity that you see now in our community. We're a very Caucasian-focused state and county, certainly. And I remember those years where it was really easy to move about our county, our city. We're a bigger city now with traffic challenges. We've invested, of course, in mass transit. We have a more dynamic downtown. We are a post-Olympic city, having hosted the Winter Games here in 2002, and now we're trying to get them again. So life's changed quite a bit, and I know we are going to talk about our changing diversity today, and it certainly has changed in that manner as well.
And so, how does the infusion over time of an immigrant community and immigrant workforce, how has that really contributed to? I mean, just I think one of the most vital and entrepreneurial regions in the country these days.
Well, I think, we started years and years ago becoming a State Department resettlement community. And I've had friends in the Tibetan community since my childhood, pretty much, my young adulthood. We've welcomed people from African nations, really nations throughout the world at various times, sometimes in small numbers, sometimes larger numbers. And I really feel now that we're seeing a more, I think, connected community in a way, in that we see larger representation of the groups I've mentioned. We've seen impact in the business community, we've seen cultural change, all of that, and it's enriching our community. Another interesting factor is we have a very diversified community, or a very diversified economy now. And I see our refugee community and our immigrant community being very closely tied to that diversity and our success. And we're always interested in a new employer and bringing about a new industry here, or expanding what we do have. And I feel like people that I've met have said one of the reasons I'm attracted to Utah now is it is a more diverse community. We do have people from all walks of life, and from all, a lot of an international flavor to a certain degree. And then lastly, I would note, I remember um, running for office a few years ago, and I sought a federal office, and I was getting out of my comfort zone in Salt Lake County and touring the state again. And I started to recognize, not just in my county, which is the heart of our population here in Utah, but our throughout the state, this emerging young, diverse individual, these 20 something year olds that were jumping into the workforce, or I was meeting at our colleges throughout the state, and a light bulb went off. And I'm like, this is the next generation of people whose parents came here 20, 30 years ago. Kids who may have come here with them when they were quite young or born here. So what I now see, and it's tangible in this community, is this next generation that still have that direct connection to their native homes, but also are Utahns. And it really is exciting to see their political growth, their interest in their community. And it's been a privilege for me to get to know a lot of these young people. They've been young people working in my office, on campaigns, interning, very civically minded, an active voice, often for change, etc. So it's exciting.
So then, as you know, when you stepped into office in January 2019, I believe, from that perch of being a local elected official, how are you thinking of how the county should be integrating and really supporting the immigrant community in Salt Lake?
Well, we know that if you arrive in our county, you likely need a safety net of some sort. Depending on how you come, sometimes it's academic environment that might provide a transition in. It might be a State Department temporary assistance. But there are going to be barriers, often language barriers, cultural barriers. And I think it's up to us as elected leaders to provide that runway towards success. We get the benefits, so we have to learn how to invest to mitigate, the foundation. I want to give a shout out to my sister, who, I feel like I've been involved in policy as it relates to this community, but my sister is very hands on. Was hosting families when they were first coming, and I remember a story where she was pulled into a situation where the new immigrant into our community that she was sort of fostering into the system just didn't know how to um, manage the appliances in the apartment. So it's everything from putting people on a trajectory towards success, and success means a lot of things, but it's also finding hands and hearts and ways to bring people through some very basic transitions. And I've had the opportunity to just be part of some engagements where I've been on the other side and have not known the language spoken. Just a fun exercise that was done by our local refugee community. And believe me, as I tried to buy the groceries, register my kid for school, figure out where the medical clinic was or how to take the bus, it was impossible for me. And I think it's up to us as leaders, and we take it seriously at Salt Lake County, to help provide the foundation that's needed.
And where do initiatives like the Office of the New Americans, the County's United for Citizenship initiative, or even the Welcoming Salt Lake initiative, where do those kind of fit into this kind of range of strategies to help immigrants and refugees, integrate into Salt Lake?
Well, we're proud to be, a welcoming community, an authorized welcoming community. The first one, our initiatives have expanded since then. I'll tell you, we've had leadership long before me and amazing staff long before I was able to take on this role as mayor. And our staff on a day to day basis are integrated into the community, both with nonprofit partners, with individuals one on one, building capacity, creating connection, and really trying to figure out where the challenges are, whether they be, two that I can point to that were nationwide challenges, one being the census and wanting a full count, and another being COVID. And in both of those instances, our offices were connecting with communities, getting the word out, boots on the ground for the census, coordinating with the U.S. Census Office. Our count ended up stronger than we thought it might, given COVID hit, and there were barriers at the federal level throughout the census process. And then COVID itself, we certainly invested in additional temporary staff through our health department, but our Office of New Americans and Diversity and Inclusion was very much part of the conversation and making sure everything was translated, messaging was done appropriately. We were out serving communities. And right now, like every other county and city in the nation, we're trying to target specific zip codes to get more people in. We're trying to identify where we have success with our various ethnicities and build infrastructure that's a little more taking it to people as opposed to asking them to show up to our big mega centers. In fact, we're closing those and we're shifting almost exclusively right now to a COVID vaccine delivery that is more neighborhood and locally based.
That's great. That's great. And how much of a challenge is it to identify the staff who, in essence, kind of are trusted by the community, so that it's somebody coming into that neighborhood, who looks like the community, can speak the language? That's just such a big part of being able to deliver these services, I imagine.
Well, trust is a very big issue, especially because we know that in our community, we have a relatively large number of people who are undocumented. And I've always felt in my advocacy for our community as a whole, it's important for me as a political leader to speak out. And I have, and I will continue to. And we need to find workarounds for services because the reality is we're not seeing federal change as quickly as we need to. So when you've got a Mayor Mendenhall of Salt Lake City who sends the right message to her police department, and a leading what used to be our Salt Lake County Sheriff, it's now our Unified Police Department, but it's our county affiliated group, a woman of color herself, a Latina, sending the right signal to that community. I speaking out in favor of immigration reform and not being willing, or continuing to be willing to push for advancements and stand. That to me is hopefully resonating to the community that Salt Lake County is trusted, and then to your point specifically, we look to find people that are like-minded and love the community. And we don't, unfortunately, have the resources to have a point person to represent every diverse person that comes. I mean, we're speaking dozens and dozens of languages in our schools here in Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County, believe it or not. And people come from, various nations throughout the world. So we can't have a representative for each. So, it's more not so much that it needs to be, a direct match in terms of the journey one has had or the ethnicity, but just a willingness to reach out and listen. And we also have great community partners, and the success, if we have any, or the challenge that we continue to have, is all based on this united approach with community.
I have to say, I think one of the least appreciated nuggets about Salt Lake, the region, is just the diversity and the vitality of the area. And I just don't think the rest of the country kind of realizes that at all.
No, I don't think they do. And I think that's one of our hidden treasures. And again, I think, when we do recruit firms or firms are expanding, I think people are pleasantly surprised. Not only do they walk away from a recruitment visit and say, oh, yeah, I love that I can go to an outdoor concert right in the heart of the city in the foothills, and enjoy major artists coming in the summer. And I can hop on a mountain bike and be on amazing trails 2 minutes from my urban home and my downtown. But I also can enjoy an association with people that aren't just from the predominant religion here in the state, or like me, a fifth generation Utahan whose ancestors came in with the pioneers, right? So we have a lot to offer here, and multiple languages, people from all walks of life from around the world are definitely a part of the fabric and our selling point as a great place to live, to visit, to come and enjoy.
But there's also something where I feel like Utah as a state is also a very interesting kind of political example for the country. Because you have the Utah Compact from back in 2010, but even just over the last few weeks where the legislature took to the governor's desk and signed this bill that allows legal permanent residents to become police officers. So what's in the water in Utah that allows for this type of kind of a solution-oriented posture towards immigration?
Well, I think it's largely our just the people in our community. I think we're raised to respect one another. I mean, I would say that we're slipping, as everyone is right now, and that we have to get back to a more reasonable framework. Not be so divided politically. We've had political division here. I'm very committed to my party. I work with others all the time that are as well on opposite sides of the aisles. But we've got to get. I fear really our what's around the corner if we don't get back to a more even dialogue. And having said that, I think it is part of our ethic and our culture to be neighborly and to be open and to be welcoming. And then I think that our churches, not just the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which has a worldwide missionary program, so people who do go off, men and women, young men and women, for a couple of years and serve the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in these nations throughout the world and come back with some cultural understanding. So it's that, but it's our other religions and leaders. I mean, our just retired, long serving Calvary Baptist Church leader was on every board and every, involved in every community issue you can imagine. I remember I first got to know him on a task force of the Olympic Games when I worked there. So it's like our Catholic bishop is often meeting with our other religious leaders, et cetera. So I feel like it's just part of our ethic here is to try and be neighborly, be open. It's a value that I fear. I just, again, want to get us back to a time of more acceptance and tolerance. And I think our nation right now isn't quite there, and we have some work to do.
We certainly do. So give me your sense on kind of, the current debate in Congress around dreamers, around farm workers, around temporary protected status recipients, what do these three populations mean to Salt Lake County? And why is it important that, Congress figures out a way to really stabilize, their status here in the U.S.?
Well, they're important to us. I was surprised when I looked at the advocates for progress, DACA protections, that our Farm Bureau was a part of that dialogue. Pretty conservative group, but they recognize the need for the workforce. We are, as I mentioned, these young people who have come here, who are have had and will now have again the protections under DACA. That's pretty critical for us because these are brilliant young people that have contributed, and they know no home other than this one, or they might have a distant memory of their their birth and their early years in whatever nation they're coming from. But in any event, I think it's critical that we put them on they've already been contributing, right? Put them on a path, a fair path. The one-offs were actually, I don't really mean the one-offs. So the people that I directly meet in this world, a handful here or there, their stories are so compelling that, to add, it's hard enough to be a young person. I know I've got a college age son and a high school son. It's hard enough to add a legal barrier and have yet another, stone to carry through life, because you're not on an even playing field when you've lived a life here in this state or this nation is unfortunate. So it's important that we move forward and are pushing hard on and receiving, hopefully, the continued benefits. And, I worked for Congress years and years ago in the 90s, and I thought we had at least some progress. I left there in 96. Here we are, right? 20 years later, without the progress that we need. And more than 20 years later, as I'm adding in my head, wait, it's been longer than that. It's unfortunate. It shouldn't be a quarter of a century to not move forward.
Yeah. So last question for you. Let's say we're having this conversation in 5-10 years. What does the future of immigrant refugees in Salt Lake County look like in 5 or 10 years?
Well, I would hope we continue to reunite families that have been separated. I hope we have our border policies sorted out, which is going to mean federal action. I visited the border and understand, I guess, I don't fully understand, but I had a glimpse directly on the challenges there. And I wanted help be a resource. I don't want people living in fear that they're going to get a knock at the door. I'd like a better path for people who are having some barriers to advancement in work simply because they don't have the appropriate status, or they're held up in paying legal fees and with obstructions that are unnecessary. I hope that our state and our nation recognize that the Farm Bureau is right. We need people. Our immigrants are friends in the community, whether they came here by crossing a border or taking an airplane or wherever, even back to early days. Everyone here is welcome, and we really need to get back to a path to success for people and stop throwing up ridiculous roadblocks that hold us back. So I'm hopeful, and I believe our community will overcome the division, and our nation will as well. And I've got to be glass half full in these hard times right now, because I think it's hard for me to wrap my head around us having the quality of life that you've recognized, having visited here, our road. And I think we'll be on a good path. I'm hopeful.
Mayor, thank you so much for the time. I really, really appreciate it. And I look forward to coming out and visiting in person sometime very soon.
Yeah, check in when you do. I'd love to meet up with you in person.
Jenny Wilson is the mayor of Salt Lake County. You can hear more about Mayor Wilson at our website, immigrationforum.org/podcast. Look, if you like what you hear, subscribe to Only in America wherever you listen to fine podcasts. Tune in next week for a conversation with another Utah community leader, Salt Lake Police Chief Mike Brown. Only in America is produced and edited by Katie Lutz, Joanna Taylor, and Becca Wall. Our artwork and graphics are designed by Carla Leha. I am Ali Nirani, and I will chat with you next week.
Support for the National Immigration Forum comes from the Carnegie Corporation of New York, supporting innovations in education, democratic engagement, and strengthening international peace and security. And from Humanity United. When humanity is united, we can bring a powerful force for human dignity.